Now, adding fuel to tomorrow's rally, former President Trump, he did release a statement claiming that suspects are being prosecuted so unfairly, but no specific mention to this rally. Also, members of Congress have been advised to stay away from Capitol Hill. A few were invited, but all declined. Also, lawmakers, they are in recess during this time. Laverne.
Ariana, can you tell us what is the biggest security threat leading into tomorrow?
Well, when we asked that to the Capitol Police Chief Tom Manger, he says the biggest threat that they are mostly concerned about is opposing groups clashing. I asked him, are there any specific groups that plan to counter-protest against tomorrow's rally? He said he did not detail them by name, but he says that they are aware of 3 groups. 2 do not have a history of violence, but 1 has a history of clashing. But they will be coordinating with other agencies, specifically the Metro Police Chief, the Metro Police Force, rather, with keeping those 2 groups separated. Laverne.
All right, thank you so much for that report, Ariana. And joining us now with insight into the rally and security preps is Cheryl Dorsey. She's a retired LAPD sergeant and author of the book, The Confidence Chronicles, the greatest crime story never told. Sergeant, welcome back to BNC. Good to have you. So tell us, what do you think will be different from 9 months ago?
Well, I think certainly the first difference is the police presence, the chatter, the press conferences that have been held leading up to in an effort to deter the bad behavior. And we see evidence of that being successful in that a lot of folks are not coming. We've got politicians who are no longer out marching and giving the thumbs up, if you will, to the protesters that are anticipated on coming. And so I think that the police are not going to be caught flat-footed this time. It's unfortunate that they didn't have the same interest and appetite for security on January the 6th.
And then we have these counter rallies. There's a counter rally planned near the J6 rally, and that's only increasing potential violence. So do you think that enough is being done to prevent clashes between these groups?
I think the police presence will be enough to prevent any clashes, and certainly we now know that there are at least 100 National Guards on standby. And so I think if the 2 sides should be problematic, that will be put down rather quickly. Fencing being put up is going to prevent them from getting within close proximity. Lawmakers are being told not to go to their offices. So everything that can be done, I think, is being done. They're trying to be as proactive this time around rather than reactive as they were on January the 6th.
Yeah, and this time we're hearing that the communication about the rally online is actually encrypted. We didn't hear that before. So this is posing some challenges that the federal authorities are having to deal with. How do you expect them to try to deal with trying to control this when communication may be encrypted and therefore they're not aware of what exactly is happening?
I think having a police presence, having the appropriate number of resources on hand, having that visible for those who do show up, regardless of what they talk about doing or are desirous of doing today or tomorrow morning before things get started. I think once those who do show up see the police presence and see that they're not playing with them this time around, I think it will give them pause.
Do you think that these extensive security measures that we're seeing now, they should have been put in place ahead of January's riot, and why weren't they?
Absolutely. And listen, why weren't they? I can't say for sure, but I mean, it's certainly been reported and alleged that, there are police officers on the Capitol Police Department who were seemingly complicit. 6 officers right now are facing disciplinary action because of their role in the insurrection. There are many others who couldn't be disciplined because they could not be identified sufficiently as a result of the investigation. And so let's not pretend that there aren't infiltrators on these 18,000 police departments, Capitol State Police being one, of sympathizers, card-carrying Klansmen, those who are like-minded with these insurrectionists. I mean, we saw police officers and firefighters on duty, off duty, and retired in the mix on January 6th.
So that means they'll still be in the mix now. So shouldn't we be concerned about these insiders this time around as well?
It's quite possible. And listen, we should have been concerned about them from day one. I mean, all this talk about police accountability and, the George Floyd Justice and Reform Act, which we don't even hear being discussed anymore, everything except for holding officers accountable, everything except for plucking those card-carrying Klansmen from the police departments that exist, according to the DOJ report from some years ago. If you don't get them out of the ranks, then they're going to continue to be a problem if allowed to persist and go unchecked.
All right, Sergeant Dorsey, thank you so much for your time. We hope that everything goes peaceful and safe tomorrow, and we appreciate your insights. Take care and have a good weekend.